Hey, bud. Uh, my name's Cal Kennedy. It's chilly, and I'm going to be walking through everything that went into my capstone. So it started off with the idea. I knew I wanted to do lionfish because over the summers I work as a commercial scuba diver back home with my buddies, and I wanted to bridge the two industries. I saw lionfish as a perfect opportunity for me to talk about something I'm passionate about, aquatic conservation, to an audience where people might not be as knowledgeable. Nebraska, we're a triple landlocked state, so pretty much as far from a lionfish as you can get in mainland America, but um, that didn't really deter me. I knew this story had legs. I was super curious about it after learning about lionfish for the first time, why there's sort of this secretive, destructive, invasive problem going on. And I didn't really hear about it until I was swimming with them. So that's sort of it was an eye opening moment for me. And especially trying lionfish was also an experience that opened my eyes to exploring this topic more and trying to uncover why this is such a slept on, overlooked fish within the culinary industry. Actually, hopping into what went into this project, it starts with the ideation phase, sketching out what I think the final gallery is going to look like and all the elements it'll take for me to get there. So this took planning from a projector, where I want my projector, where I want the sculpture to be, and eventually I had to find a spot for the curation of the sculpture. So thankfully enough, in our graphic design building, we have this sort of indoor outdoor patio that throughout my 4 years here, I've never seen anyone use. So I asked all the teachers in that room if it was okay if I were to use that as my outdoor working space, because working with foam gets pretty messy. So I was thankfully able to get the predominant amount of the carving done before it got too cold here down in Lincoln. So you can see me sort of bringing them into Richards, our art building, and this is where the paper mache process started. And pretty much what that consisted of is I got the foam core boards glued together, carved down into these sort of olive rugby ball shape, and then I cut them into 4 pieces. So that would sort of emulate the fish body. And after that, I did a layer of tape, and then for a solid base for the paper mache to stick onto. So I did a couple layers of strip paper mache. So that's when you take newspaper, cut it up into strips, and then lie it flat on your surface. And so after that, I did a little layer of paper mache clay, and then I went into CNC fabricating the fins, which took a while, but after sanding them to create a sort of translucent finish that you see in the spines and fin structures of lionfish, I thought frosting the clear plexiglass was my best bet at having that. And so, talking about the 3D printing aspect of this project is pretty difficult to sort of understand what I was looking at. I've only 3D printed a couple things before, so this was still a pretty new process to me. Um, but I eventually landed on my model and then how much of the model I was going to need to print, and then printing at a scale that I would match up well with the foam core that I've already been working on. So all of these projects are sort of working simultaneously throughout the semester. So I'm not able to know exactly the sizing that'll match with what. So it's all sort of on an estimated guess. I know that it's going to be hang around the 40 to 44 inches for one of the sides of the foam core. So I knew I needed the base of my head to be at least 80. So this is me and my little print farm factory. We're printing out several different pieces of the big head eventually because the head got so big to where I eventually needed 29 separate prints scaled across the Prusa MK4 printers and the Prusa MK4 XLs. So having both the XLs and the regulars available to me at the same time really sped up the printing process. And so that was able to create sort of a print assembly line. So it only took about a week to get this head fully printed, but that's with constant going back in, resetting the machines, and because the Prusas aren't heat controlled, there tends to be a bit of warping that happens. So when I did all my dowels for the pieces to snap together, because of the warping, it wasn't 100% accurate to the DTG files that I sent through, so they're unable to be perfectly snapped together anymore, which created a bit of a problem, but that was just solved by me pretty much just getting a knife and carving off all the extruding pieces. So now we're going into painting the head white, getting it ready for coloring and painting. So doing a priming layer, and then a full acrylic layer on top of that. And then I'm finally able to paint the stripes of the lionfish onto the head, which was very fun. There's a lot of sort of manual labor leading up to that. So finally able to sit down and get a little more creative and just spend a day painting was really fun for me. And I'm super happy with how the fish turned out. I think it looks great. And so after that, throughout this time, I'm steadily developing the website where through XD, where all the sort of informational elements that I'll have displayed in the fish will also live on a digital platform. And I knew that I had sort of a ideal way I wanted this to look, and there were no fonts out there that really matched the desired look I was going for. So I just decided to make my own, and use it as my prominent title script font throughout the project. And so that sort of was one of the first things where I knew I wanted to get a little more handwritten, a little more gritty with all my looks, animation styles. I loved the sort of gritty hand drawn element of the font that I made. And so I wanted my animations and the sort of tone of this gallery to fit that as well. So I spent countless hours sort of animating, drawing, sketching each of these scenes for my little 3-minute animation video. This video used about like 60 sketches, and then I would photo scan them in, bring them into After Effects and Premiere, and eventually ended up with my final video. And here's all the pieces together in the gallery. So I've got my big structural lionfish display, and then the video playing up on the short throat projector.